I worked with Ryan Reynolds. They're trying to cover up a crime. She used Taylor Swift, her best friend, to intimidate him. It's all very manipulative. The more little pieces that get released, the more we're like, oh man, this woman is scary. This is like a Hollywood true crime. We're getting pieces coming out. Right. Every lawsuit and every complaint that are filling us in on what actually happened. And that's what I think myself and so many people are invested in. I didn't know who this Justin Baldoni guy was. No offense, didn't really care.
Right.
But the more I'm learning about what Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds seemingly did, they're trying to cover up a crime. That's what I really do think is happening here. She came out with allegations of sexual harassment. That's how it started. There was a lot of drama in the summer when the film It Ends With Us released. And a lot of people were sort of following the drama, wondering why was there drama. No one really understood until she later dropped the lawsuit like 2 days before Christmas to ruin all their holidays. But that first drama was people were sort of just noticing that Blake Lively was not the nicest person. Like she was a mean girl, tone deaf, or things that were being called out. And just for sake of brevity, like the two big things were she was promoting her alcohol brand during a film that's about domestic violence, which was just a really bad look given that most domestic violence is triggered by alcoholism. But she's, named one of the drinks at the premiere after the abuser character in the movie. It was just a really bad look. And then beyond that, people just got an attitude from her during all the junkets and interviews, particularly this one junket that sort of resurfaced where she and Parker Posey, an actress, like really were just mean girling this poor junket woman who posted the video. Like, this is the interview that made me want to quit Hollywood. So there was just a lot of stuff piling up that made Blake not seem very likable. Yeah. And that's where I got in on it when that started happening. And then Ryan was writing the movie. There was a point where I jumped in and many jumped in, and it just became organically viral because everyone was sort of like, what's up with Blake Lively? She seems kind of, B-word and mean girl and all these things. She had a lot of bad press and she refused to accept it. Like, so what happened was I think she tried to paint it all as I was harassed. He was retaliating.
Right.
It wasn't my issue.
Yeah. It's being spun against me, and that's not what was happening at all. It's funny. I saw an interview there was a movie she did called A Simple Favor or A Favor or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was, a great movie. What's fun? What is the girl that
Anna Kendrick?
Yeah, but during I
was way more into Anna Kendrick. I was
she's adorable.
Yeah.
But during an interview, she mentions that she makes a comment. I remember about Blake when she said something like, when she shows up for set, or made some snide little comment. And I remember the look that, Blake gave her. And I just kind of remember thinking something's up there. There's lots of little things that come out like, hey, you're not this sweet, wonderful person. And it's the same thing with Ryan Reynolds. Like,
I was just going to say, yeah.
I love Deadpool, right? But you see these characters and you fall in love with them. And then you find out, oh, he's kind of a fucking tool. I have a friend who used to play, go to Vegas, and I used to like Jude Law. He played next to Jude Law. So
Jude Law.
Jude Law.
Yeah,
sorry.
Jude Law.
Sorry. Jude Law.
It's like Judd Nelson. Jude Law. Yes.
Jude Law. So he said, and he's English. Mm-hmm. So he said, I'm playing cards with him. He said, and we're sitting there playing. He said, we're sitting there for an hour or two. And he said, these two girls come up to him and said, oh my gosh, I loved you in, whatever, Cold Mountain or whatever, could I get your autograph? And he goes, I'm fucking playing cards. This is my personal fucking time. He goes, you fucking wankers. He goes, why is nobody keeping these fucking, and he freaks out, and they're like, oh my God, and walks off. And so somebody comes in and says, hey, you gotta come, and they get rid of her. And then my buddy's sitting there, and he's like we had talked briefly. Like, he's like, he just went off, and he goes, and the guy, he looked at him and said, he's like, it's all the fucking time with these fucking wankers or whatever. And he said, my buddy looked at him and he goes, honestly, brother, I just wanted an autograph. Like, what's the big deal? He goes, it's all the fucking time. You understand?
I'll defend him. Like, imagine being that everywhere you fucking go.
Listen, I'll tell you, and this may be the narcissist in me, but let's face it, if you're an actor, when you were struggling, begging to be able to make a living as an actor, you would have given your soul.
Of course, but when you're playing, when you got money on the line, you're playing cards.
I don't care. You're worth $20 million. Sign the fucking autograph. Be appreciative. You know, I'll take.
I mean, I agree with you in theory, of course, but I can see a little bit of like.
I can, but he
it
was
never
like.
ends.
I
can't imagine being a level of Jude Law. Like every girl's just
I'd be thrilled. I'd be thrilled. Listen, I'm not saying that the
Tell
girls.
us in the comments down below. Blessing or a curse?
In general, people. I'm sure people recognize you, right?
It's happened. Yes, it's happened.
Listen, I get recognized.
It's happened at Target where I'm having a fight with my wife or something, and that's where I get even most insecure about. I'm like, oh God, are they watching us argue about the Frosted Flakes?
Listen,
she's like, don't get those. I'm like, I want to get them, you know, like, and I'm like, oh God, there's a fan watching. It's happened where I'm like, hi.
Oh, I drop everything. If somebody says, "Aren't you Matt Cox?" I'm like, boom. Yes, I am. How are you? Let's take a photo. What's up?
I do that too.
I'm thrilled.
I know. It happens a lot, and I'm always happy. You have to be, especially at our level where it's like, we're not Jude Law. No offense. We're not at Jude Law level of talent.
This is that guy saying hi to me and, oh my gosh, I watch your stuff. That's the reason I don't have to have a real job.
100%. I bring stickers. I have stickers in my wife. If someone stops me, I'm like, oh, hey, I'll like in the middle. My wife, is on top of it too, but like, we're like, hey, oh my God, anytime someone says, I give you a sticker. And they love that moment.
We need stickers.
When you give them that moment, of course I'm with you, but I'm just saying, I can't imagine being at a Brad Pitt, Jude Law level where everywhere you go, you can't do anything private. Like, it's not an excuse. He should have been nice. But that's all I'm saying. I can give them a little bit. But you're right. It's like these celebrities can be assholes. Yeah. It's a reality.
And that's why
people are expecting like, oh my God, yeah. And they're not sometimes.
Well, the Ryan Reynolds thing, I would think that he would be, everybody, like I see him as one person. And then the truth is, apparently he's not a nice guy.
Well, it's funny. I worked with Ryan Reynolds.
Really?
I actually worked with Ryan Reynolds. So that's where I've been conflicted about this whole story because I did a show called Honest Trailers way back, which was very popular. Very proud of it. And we did the honest trailer for Deadpool, and we reached out to Ryan Reynolds, and he ended up appearing in his own honest trailer. We wrote the script for him. He was so collaborative, like so nice. Like I had such a good level of like people would ask, "What's the best celebrity you've worked with?" And I was always like, The Rock and Ryan Reynolds were the two best people I'd worked with, which I'd always heard problems with. Now, granted, they were being creative with me. That may have been on their best behavior because of who we were at the time, but still I had a really great experience. And then even later he went above and beyond when we did a follow-up for our Logan trailer. So anyway, it was weird because I went through this like, oh my God, he really is the nice Canadian collaborative guy.
What about the guy that plays the bartender in Deadpool?
So TJ Miller.
Yeah.
He has many people have called him an asshole.
Okay.
And he was like, I'm not saying it was true, but there were a lot of allegations. He got canceled at a certain point. And his castmates of Silicon Valley kind of talked shit. So
he doesn't like Ronald.
Well, he took it back. He took it back.
Oh,
he took it back. So it's like, no, I watched that clip.
How can you know if any of that is true? Like when people back up.
I think he's being truthful. I think he had a bad experience with Ryan. He called him out, but I think it's not a surprise that Ryan can be a bit of a dick. Like that's his humor.
Right.
He is Deadpool. Like it's so clear when he
plays self-effacing. He's not an actor.
And Blake Lively's sort of trying to be Ladypool and do the same type of thing.
He's not an actor. He's like Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn plays Vince Vaughn in every single movie.
Or Vin Diesel, exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
It's one note.
Yeah, there's not.
I would argue even The Rock, exactly. They haven't shown much range beyond what they can do. But, they do it very successfully.
Right. They're not Arnold. Arnold's got all kinds of range.
Kindergarten Cop, come on, Commando, Total Recall.
Right. Yeah.
Get your ass to Maz. Yeah, but I think that's part of the appeal of seeing for so many audience members of like, oh man, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are now like their stocks falling down for this. I've never seen a story in a long time, since Amber Heard, where I feel like a celebrity's PR is so wrong.
Yeah.
Like every step Blake Lively has done in this process just has made me dislike her more and more. And again, I'm not some Justin Baldoni fan. Like I didn't know who this guy was. He was on Jane the Virgin and hosts some podcast about masculinity, whatever. Like no shade, but I've only defended him because I've been watching Blake's sort of manipulation, narcissism, like ego maniacal. Like there was a whole text that got dropped where she's like, she was basically the real story. It seems from Justin's lawsuit is she was trying to take control of the movie, like before it even shot. Justin wasn't just her co-star, director, producer, but he got the rights to the book before it was popular all over the world. And you could just tell she wanted the rights. She wanted control. She wanted to direct the movie. And that's coming out in all the text exchanges and crew people. Like they didn't have a good creative control, connection on the movie. But there was a text exchange before even shooting where he admits that she used Taylor Swift, her best friend, and Ryan Reynolds, her husband, who are both billionaire crazy famous people to sort of intimidate him to accept her rewrites of a scene in the movie, like a key scene in the movie. She kind of bullies him into doing it and then like confronts him with both of them in the room. Like, I can't imagine suddenly you're directing this movie with your co-star and then she's brought in two of the biggest celebrities in the world to sort of mad dog you and like, what do you think of her scenes? Like, do you want to work again? Do you want Taylor to be involved? Like, as a Hollywood player, you got to be nice to these people or they can burn you is typically what happens. And so Blake did it. And we can see the text messages where she's sort of, these two are my dragons. I'm Khaleesi. She's like calling herself Khaleesi from Game of Thrones and labeling Ryan Reynolds, one of the biggest stars, and Taylor Swift, a huge star, as her beautiful monsters, her dragons. They're mine. Like, I don't know about you, but would you like finding out that your people are out there talking behind your back saying that you're their monsters and that she basically uses you like for her will, for better or worse?
Yeah, it's weird for someone to, it's an odd thing to say in general. Yeah.
Like definitely. She's manipulating she's using her relationship with these people to get herself somewhere. And I find it disgusting. So that kind of stuff keeps dropping and you're just like, well, this isn't a good look.
So the movie comes out. We know that there's a bunch of drama going on. And then suddenly, and it's not looking good for her. So she drops a lawsuit. I have a question. If you're an attorney and you sit down with her, like, wouldn't you have vetted what she's saying? Like, hey, like, Blake, is anything going to come out? Like, did you ever say, I mean, she just go, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, wouldn't you say, oh, great, give me your, like, all of this is going to be subject to discovery. So he's going to get your text message. He's going to get everything. He's got them on his phone already.
Well, like, it's more messed up.
Okay.
So they stole all the text messages from one of the PR people. So it's like there's this legal gray area, sir, is what I'm trying to say, where one of the PR people who they're claiming did a smear campaign against Blake, which I don't buy. Right. This is where we get more into the weeds of the story, but there's all these publicists.
That's what we're here for.
There are all these publicists that are getting exposed, and that's part of the fun of this too, of this true crime nature, just like
publicists wouldn't twist anything.
Of course, right? But that's their job to do, right? And so now they're being labeled, oh, you went too far, and it's like, really? Isn't that what PR is all about? And so PR is now on this, questioning block of just like, did they go too far? They went and found this woman, Jennifer Abel, who was a publicist, who was working for another woman named Stephanie Jones. These are key players. If you guys are going to get into this case, you got to know. Stephanie Jones is like this notorious toxic PR person, like alleged. When The Rock left her, she then leaked all these stories that he was peeing on bottles on sets and it was always late and was a pain in the ass. And so when Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez left, she repped them too. She started talking about how all this bad press about Lauren Sanchez. Like, she's notoriously vindictive, manipulative, and not a nice person, according to everybody in town. This woman, Stephanie Jones. Stephanie Jones was doing PR for Justin Baldoni. Probably my son, your wife, probably. I'm filling you out strong. That's what everyone's like, how do you know all this? I'm into it. And I know all the players. Justin Baldoni's has a PR team, including Stephanie Jones. Now, Stephanie Jones and Jennifer Abel, they're not getting along. Jennifer Abel wants to leave. She's pissed off. She wants her own firm. She doesn't like the way Stephanie's doing it. Word gets to Stephanie Jones. Stephanie Jones is livid. Stephanie Jones figures out a way to fire her, to remove her with cause, and then brings a lawyer in and takes her phone on the spot before she leaves. Give me your phone, confiscate. We think you're stealing secrets or whatever it was. Jennifer's freaked out and was like, whatever, storms off, leaves her phone. They then unlock her phone, steal her phone. Fast forward, Stephanie Jones, realizing that she lost, one of her big persons, she wants to burn her forever. Allegedly, this is all in Justin's suit and what have you. She decides to team up with Blake, give all the stuff to Blake's team, all the texts and everything, so they can go find all this PR stuff. We're going to destroy you, is all taken out of context. They cherry pick a bunch of text messages. They remove emojis and sort of sarcasm that's clearly in the text when you read them all, because Justin later reveals that. But Blake doesn't pull Stephanie Jones as part of the people who are defaming her, which she was. Stephanie Jones somehow gets a pass. That's where we are. So she used this toxic publicist to call out the other toxic publicist, but was like, all right, we won't call you out, even though you were part of it. You were bad mouthing Blake. You were working for Justin. We're gonna give you a pass because you gave us the phone. Is how it looks like it came. Now, was this legally actually allowed to give the phone? They were able to then pull all these text messages from the phone. Blake Lively puts them in her lawsuit. cherry picked, like I said, removing a lot of context, and then puts a gag order literally the same day that he can no longer, Justin can't say anything about it, which it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Any lawyer you talk to is like, you don't need to put text messages in these complaints. Like that's totally, superfluous. It's a PR play. It's not a lawsuit at that point. But Blake
that's
Lively,
what it is.
Yeah, and Blake Lively set the tone. She put the text message. She cherry picked what she wanted. And now Justin wants to release all the text messages. He's like, I'm making a website. All the text messages, all the videos are going to come out because let's put it all out there. If you're going to call me all the things you're labeling
you
me.
started this.
And now she's terrified. She's now put 3 gag orders, a 3 rush to the judge. We're going to find out in about a week whether the judge is going to deem this gag order where basically Justin's team can no longer defend themselves in public, which is insane to me.
Well, yeah.
But that's where we currently are. Just like he's slowly started putting video clips. We have a video clip that goes against what she said in the lawsuit. There's some voice memos. Every little piece of content we get from Team Justin disputes everything Blake said, and it makes her look awful. And then Blake doubles down and says, "No, you got to believe me. I'm the woman." It's turned into an absolute Amber Heard type of situation. And now because I say that, I'm a misogynist. I'm a sexist.
Right. I'm okay with it. the whole trust women, all of them real really. I love what's his name, Burr, is it I forget the comedian where it's like, really, like,
you can't trust anybody. Not all men, not all women. You can't.
No, there's too many examples,
too many bad apples out there,
right? Especially here's the whole thing. It's funny when someone comes out in public and says a bunch of defamatory things about you, and then you defend yourself and prove that they're not true. Suddenly they're like, you got to stop talking. No. You set the tone. So that's what this is. Now I'm fighting back. Then they go to the courts and say, hey, let's shut this down. No, that's not how this works. You don't get to say a bunch of stuff and then shut me up. So,
but that's the beauty. Like Blake, it seems like Blake and Ryan thought they have separate rules.
Right.
And I think we're now in a world where it's like, no more. We don't want with celebrities. We don't really care about your political opinions or all this nonsense. And Blake and Ryan are starting to realize, oh crap, we can't just get whatever we want.
I was watching a video. I'm doing research for a book on a serial killer, and I was watching a criminologist talk about psychopaths. And one of the questions they asked was, what is one of the industries that has the most psychopaths? And Hollywood. Yeah, it was Hollywood. It was like Hollywood. It was doctors. It was like a police officer. But the first one, she was like, yeah, she said entertainment. And I thought, wow, like I didn't see that, but it makes sense. But it only recently makes sense because 20 years ago, I wouldn't have thought that at all. But in the last 10 years or so, I think just because of YouTube and there's so many influencers that are exposing their true behavior. But think back in the 50s and 60s, the studios, one of these guys would get drunk and they'd get into a DUI and they had their own security would go out and fix everything and sign this and NDAs and I'll pay you this much, and then they grab the guy, scoop them up and take care of them. And so it's always been happening. It's
just too much unchecked behavior, I think, is what is the thing. It's like there is a lot of it. When you get too big, especially these influencers, I mean, I've been guilty of it back in the day. You get so big, you don't know any better. You don't know, oh, wait, I had to pay my taxes on this YouTube money. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. Yeah. And so there are people. You
surround yourself with yes men. That's the problem.
Yeah, when people will surround themselves because you're famous or rich or have, clout online, and that can blur you too. So look, not to give an excuses to some of the bad behavior, but you got to, it makes sense why some of these people fall in that trap. They need better support systems or friends or people to remind them, don't be a dick.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you got to surround yourself by people that will be like, yeah, listen, you're an asshole. I get what you're saying, but you know what? If you're wrong, you're wrong. That's just the way it is. Yeah. And you're wrong.
I don't know, but I've been an asshole plenty of my career.
My whole life. I'm just, it's just a balancing act at this point.
It's a maturity. You sort of grow, and I don't know, as I've aged, I'm just like, I don't have time for being an asshole or dealing with assholes.
Yeah, but you're being an asshole never lands you in prison. Like my being an asshole has landed me in prison a few times. It's
did that teach you? Or
yeah, it did. The last sentence, that main sentence was like, yeah, you can't behave this way anymore. This is not working for you. But see,
so you were rehabilitated. That's good.
And people tried to tell me before that, but I was like, can't tell me. I know what I'm doing.
But you would think the system did that time did ground. That was is that what it was?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, you go to prison. And I've said this a bunch of times. Like I have a buddy Pete, and he always says, I was already in this mind frame when he said it, but I always liked the way he said it, which was he goes, you can't go to prison and continue to behave in the same manner that got you to prison and then leave prison and not expect to come back. Like you have to mentally change. And then that was it. I was like, yeah, I can't continue to be an asshole, behave like a complete, dirtbag and get out of prison. Like and you go to prison long enough, you realize like you're better off sleeping in someone's spare room, taking the bus than you are. The best day outside is better than the worst day outside is better than the best day inside.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how shitty it is outside. I just started saying, I'm just going to be not that I'm a great person, but I'm going to make an attempt to be a decent human being and see how that
He's
goes.
laughing.
And that's turned out pretty good. It's the whole Jordan Peterson thing, like make your bed and, like don't lie.
Yes.
It's for any reason, even if it's on your own detriment, like just don't lie to people and don't, and honor,
Yeah, but then you got to play the whole game of, can I get away with this lie? Am I lying? They didn't ask me.
No, you know what it is? I just extremely honest. I'm like, look, I'm going to let you know up front. Boom, 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 boom.
Good.
And,
That's
right.
the real key.
And when you do that, it's funny because that actually builds trust where people are like, wow, this guy's being so you say, listen, I'm telling you, you come on the program. We can do this. We can do this. I cannot promise you this. And I'm letting you know now, if you say something that's, that you're not okay with, and we release the video and 2 weeks later you want to have it taken down, that's not happening. Like I'm very honest up front on how this is going to work. You want to come out? Great. We don't pay for anything. Don't ask me for an Uber. Like I'm very, what I'm saying? Like the whole thing. And then they're like, damn, like this guy is being extremely
What's good because
upfront.
In my career, when I had my downfall, luckily I didn't go to prison. It felt like it for a period. I lost everything. I got canceled, but it's like, the thing I realized at that point was like the life is so much better when you're not trying to follow all the lies.
Yeah.
When you don't have to chase. Wait, what did I do? And is this going to come out? Just are they going to find out about this? Like that is the worst life I've ever had to live, where I just was constantly living in fear. When you finally can tell your partner and everything's out, and you have that safe comfortability, it's like, oh yeah, no, this is way better. It's a way better life. Yeah, because you still fuck up. We're all human, of course, but when you have to be hiding shit, it can eat at you in a way that, does make you an asshole. Yeah. And then keeps you, I have to stay this asshole to do that. And so I've been there. And thankfully now I'm at a place where I can just be a hermit with my family, not to deal with these assholes. But as I'm sure you experience in the YouTube world, we still have to deal with some assholes. Oh yeah. And haters and people that it's like.
You can't make it. It's funny. You'll read the comments and there'll be like 6 people in a row saying, what a great video. Thank you for doing this. This is amazing. And then some other guy will be like, total snooze, bro.
And that's the one you focus on, right?
Oh, of course. I'm like, what? I'm like,
you have 100 nice positive comments, man. And then it's that one shithead that you're like,
I'm like, then go watch fucking Netflix, bro. There's plenty of good documentaries on it. Like, and then my wife's sitting there as I'm typing away. She's like, don't send that.
It's good to have someone who can be like, should I send this? Yeah. I think all social media needs are you sure button? Yeah. Are you sure?
Yeah, there really should be something for the creators.
The second one.
A second button that says, honestly,
is this
bro,
good?
Is this the best decision?
Hopefully AI can help get to that point where they can proofread and go, are you sure about this one?
Yeah. Okay, so what are some of the things that he's released that have contradicted what she's saying?
Well, we have a video if you want to watch it. If you want to do that, or we can skip it. But she alleged in the lawsuit a lot of things. Blake Lively said in her lawsuit that he was doing a slow dancing scene with her, and he was speaking out of character in a scene that he didn't have to speak at all because there was no sound recorded, and that he was, basically smelling her, and at one point, kissed her neck and said, "You smell so good." And she felt incredibly uncomfortable because, again, he was out of character. He wasn't speaking in character, and it felt very odd. Why would he do this? And it was inappropriate.
Right. Didn't she also say there was no audio?
No audio, etc. So he released the video. Right. You can watch the whole 9-minute video. We can cut to a clip as they're dancing. Right. And then there's a specific moment in the video where he is, rubbing against her neck. And he says, oh, did I get beard on you? Is what he says. And she says, oh, I probably got spray tan on you.
Right.
And he says, oh, it smells good. And then she goes, well, that's actually my body makeup. And then they move on. That's the actual exchange that
Nothing
she removed
sexual.
all that context of it seemed
And
like
she
it was,
had said that there's no audio, which means that you can say anything.
well, thank God he
there was
recorded the audio. Exactly.
Right. Like there's no reason for there's no reason for him to have said all those things. It wasn't like he was in character.
Well, it's poor. She's the one who's out of character. The whole scene she's talking about, we should be talking. She's trying to direct the scene. He's trying to get this moment where it's like they have the light behind them and they're doing the slow dance and the bar is going crazy. Like they scored and they're lost in each other, like dancing. And so that's the moment you got to remember he's acting and directing. And as someone who's done that in his life, I know how hard that is. And you know that feeling. You're hosting, you're directing, you're producing. You have a lot of, we have a lot of things, maybe not. At least I do.
Listen,
maybe Colby has it more than me.
Yeah, Colby does.
He knows what I'm talking about.
I'm just a talent.
Well, but as a talent, I'm hitting the buttons and I'm thinking, what am I going to cut? Like my head's always moving. I'm producing as I'm hosting. So I can relate to him in a moment where he's acting with this woman. Like, did I get it? Did that feel right? Oh, I wish the extras while we're doing our kiss, I wish the extras had done this. Like I imagine he's got a lot of things, moving in his mind is what I'm trying to say. And so when I watch it, I see that. I see him trying to get into character, have a chemistry with this actress. Also, did we get the scene? He's probably shooting more than he needs. Fine. I don't sense any uncomfortableness. I don't sense any meanness. And she's the one who constantly interrupts to say, we should be talking in the scene. Right. Why don't we talking? It's so much more romantic if we talk in the scene. And he's like, well, we're filming in slow-mo. Like we won't see it. And then as he explains that, even I'm like, he's right. Like, can you imagine the scene?
Yeah.
It's like what talking in slow-mo would look awful in the movie. It doesn't look good. Looking and everything, people behind him in slow-mo, that's what they're going for. But she keeps insisting on it. She keeps trying to direct it. We should do this. We should do that. And so she painted this picture that he was out of character being inappropriate, but it was the complete opposite. She's the one out of character trying to talk. He's the one who's like clearly trying to bring it back to the table, and nothing seemingly inappropriate. They released that video, and then her response is, that proves I was right. And like the whole internet goes, even people who were supporting her, they're like, Blake, I was following you, but that clip did not prove what you said. It didn't at all. She may have been uncomfortable, I guess. It does seem a little uncomfortable, just as it would for any watching two actors create a fake love scene, but nothing in it read like she did in her lawsuit. And I think it was incredibly damning for her because that set the tone for, well, what else is real? Her credibility was shot.
Yeah. If you line up 12 things that you're saying all of these things happen, and I prove that 3 of them absolutely did not happen, now your credibility is done. Like I don't believe the other 9. Like you say, oh yeah, but the other 9, fuck you. You lied about these 3, so you're just a fucking liar in general. You're done. It's funny. You would think that, oh, I get it. You're 2 high-profile mega actors, right? You would think one of the 2 of them would get to a point. Instead, every time something comes out, they double down. What's funny is when you surround yourself by yes men, you tend to keep doubling down because everybody's saying, oh, we could do this. We could do this. Like, hey. But the truth is these people you're paying all of them. You can't really trust people that you're paying they're okay. They don't really give a shit if you're unless they're tied to your success, right? So you can't really trust those people. So
it's like I always think of J-Lo. That's what J-Lo does. No one around her isn't working for her. So
right.
It's like, how do you
know
grounded?
what's ever true? So you would think that one of the 2 of these people would step back and say, listen, you're wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like you're wrong. And even if you don't think you're wrong, this has come out. It looks bad. All of this looks bad. We need to settle immediately. And we need to come out with a formal apology or try and do something to say, hey, listen, things have been taken out of context. I may have done whatever. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to address it directly, but just say, look, bad spot. It was a bad time in my life. I fucked up. Whatever the case may be. Because if you apologize and you genuinely, and you're genuine in the apology, then most people are forgiving. But most people can't humble themselves to that point. And that seems like what's...
I mean, here's I can give you insight on what I think everybody's dealing with. Justin Baldoni, from what I've gathered, is like a hippy-dippy religious guy. Like he's just the type of guy who will just Thank you so much for having me in your space on the show. It's such a lovely to be here. I'm like it to a point that it probably could get annoying for you. You'd be like, all right, dude, let's get to the meat of the conversation. So like that's the harshest criticism I've heard about Justin, is that he's a little too lovey-dovey. He maybe not as harsh as needs to be in this lawsuit. That's the insight I get from Justin. He wants to be friendly with everybody. There's a new audio drop where he apologizes to Blake after being, threatened by her and her friends to like, I'm so sorry you didn't get to write other scenes in movies. How terrible of me that I didn't notice this. You can just tell he's trying his best to please her, right? So that's Justin's mindset, I think, is more that. The problem is Blake also included other people. Wayfarer, his company, and his co-producer. It's funded by a really rich guy. This guy, Steve, he's a billionaire. He's funding this lawsuit, it turns out. And if they didn't have him, I don't know how they probably wouldn't have been able to go against Blake and Ryan. Wayfarer is a studio trying to do a lot of like for good projects. This Steve guy wants to do good. He wants to give away $1 billion before he dies. Like his whole intent is that he's seemingly tight with these guys and feels like they are good guys. So there's other people involved in this lawsuit that I think have the bite that maybe Justin didn't have, that want to see it through. There's also the publicists you're going against these alleged publicists who are smearing you. They're not going to just go down lightly and not fight back. And they're allowed to fight back because they didn't sign any agreements, like they're allowed to do it. So that's where I think it's coming from the Justin side of what's happening behind the scenes. That there's a lot of pissed off people who are defending their character, the truth.
And if he didn't have them, and he wouldn't be able to defend against.
Correct. And he'd be toast and probably never work against.
Which is probably what they were hoping for.
Correct. I think 100%. Now you go to Blake's side. Like Brian, there's a lot of theories that Ryan's jealous. Like maybe he was having Blake and Justin, were they having a thing? Did Ryan sort of step in? That theory's been going out there. I saw Candace Owens is putting that out there. She's getting a lot of traction on this story. And it's just sort of any tip she's gotten, she's trying to put out there as real, which is frustrating to me because we're trying to really look at all the facts. And I don't buy that one. Sure, there might have been a little jealousy and insecurity. There's a junket and some stuff that was released that Ryan like inserted himself in the junket, like the interview period where they ignored Justin and then interviewed the secondary male character. And Justin brought in his mom, Justin brought in Hugh Jackman, all to like talk about how great he was. And did you want to hook up with my wife? It's a very weird clip, dude. It's a very weird clip. So it does bring up a lot of like, is Ryan jealous? I don't know. I also suspect, what does Ryan really know? I think Ryan is, in my experience in working with him, he wants to support his wife. He's a nice Canadian guy. He clearly loves his wife. They have multiple kids. I think he's trying to be the better husband. He allegedly was upset when Justin was fat shaming her. So there's a part of me that can't be mad at like.
How is he fat shaming her?
That's a whole separate story.
She's 100 and fucking 10
Well,
pounds.
Justin had to lift her up in the air for a scene, allegedly.
Right.
And he has back problems. And so he asked his fitness guy, his trainer, do you know how much she weighs so I can know like what to do? That's what apparently happened.
How's that fat shaming?
It's not. Justin didn't know though that the trainer is Ryan and Blake's like celebrity trainer who like is obsessed with them all over Instagram. And this guy went to Blake and was like, oh, Justin's asking how much you weigh. Isn't that why is he asking me that? Which then whisper down the lane made it seem a lot more aggressive. That's what triggered apparently Ryan. How dare you fat shame my wife? And that's how Ryan gets involved. There's a part of me that's like not mad at Ryan because I'm like, okay, he's hearing a story that he's believing from his wife and maybe overreacting, but that's sometimes what you do when you support your partners. You want to be loyal and have their back. So there's a part of me that wonders if that's what's going on with Ryan. You're shaking. Maybe there's more manipulation.
I want to be a reasonable person too. Though.
Yeah. So there's that, but then Blake. I try to think. Well, what does Blake think? And I just look at Blake's history. She's beautiful. I can't deny that. She's always been beautiful from Gossip Girl. So she's got the looks. She comes from wealthy family. Like you add those two, the silver spoon up her ass, the good looks, the wealth. Girl's never had to work in her life. And I mean, that type of person, if not parented well and not, not having her ego brought down, could be a monster.
Yeah.
It's an Amber Heard situation. And it's similarly me, where it's like, I feel like she was just, the way she met Ryan Reynolds was because she was with Scarlett Johansson and they cheated during Green Lantern is the alleged theory. And so she does, and she connects herself to these powerful friends and husbands.
She gets what she wants. She's
Exactly.
used to getting what she wants at any cost.
So again, going with that theory, I don't know her. That's my speculation, right? Going with that theory, I think she just thought, I'm going to win this. I'm right. Yeah, he was clearly looking at me. He wants to fuck me. Ugh, how dare he? Like, I think there's a lot of it. She probably believes it. She assumed she was going to win. She hired her fancy lawyers, get this through. I don't think her lawyers read all the texts. I don't think her lawyers had all the information. They took the money. They know they're powerful. The agents, Ryan and Blake's agents, just fired Justin, which is crazy. There were a lot of other people who had accusations at WME that didn't get fired right away. They actually did investigations. In this situation, they just fired him because they can't afford to lose Ryan and Blake. That's where this whole thing is. So it's wild because she's trying to paint Justin as her boss on the movie and how it was a power dynamic and it's unfair that he made her uncomfortable. But I would argue she was way more powerful than he was.
Yeah.
He's a nobody who has the rights to the book. And if he didn't have the rights to the book, she would have steamrolled and taken over that whole damn movie. And so if there was a power imbalance, it was Justin having to deal with this huge diva megastar who's then bringing in her billionaire musician friend, her billionaire husband. And now it's like, if there's a power imbalance, it was with Blake because Blake has had no problems in the clips we've seen speaking her mind, taking control. But when he touches her neck, she couldn't say, don't do that. I find that incredibly hard to believe. It's all very manipulative. And the more, as like I said, like a true crime story, the more little pieces that get released, the more we're like, oh man, this woman is scary.
What do you think? What do you think happens? I mean, you think it actually goes to trial, or you think there's some kind of a settlement, or
there's a part of me that thinks they're so stuck in their way. Like, I don't think Justin's going to go anywhere. He can't. His career's kind of toast at this point. He needs to keep proving it.
Yeah.
I think there's a point where he'll probably get a new base of people who are going to support him more fervently than ever before. So I think he'll still make out okay. But I think they're stuck in their way. And then it's Blake and Ryan. I've never seen Blake apologize. She did once. She apologized once when she called out Princess Catherine for her Photoshop fail. I don't know if you saw that in the pop culture moment. There was a weird moment where Princess Catherine posted a photo and everyone was like, where's Catherine? Where's Kate? Where's Kate? There was all these theories that she was a clone that was going around. And she posted this photo that was clearly Photoshopped. And that made everyone go even crazy. Even Mom, like, did someone fake this photo? Is this AI? Like, what the hell? And Blake made a Photoshop joke when that all happened. And then a week later, Catherine comes out and she's like, I have cancer. And then everyone's like, it's just like, oh, damn. So Blake, that was the one time I've seen her apologize because she got caught telling royalty that she was Photoshopping when she had cancer. It looked awful. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts around it. And that's when she did do an apology. I've never seen her doing it. But again, why did she do that one? Because it was someone even more famous than her. I feel like she's like, I can't offend royalty. Right. I am royalty, so I have to clear this air.
But I mean, Baldoni is saying that he's lost jobs and he's lost money.
I believe it.
Like, so he's got a great grounds for a loss. Like to me,
legally, no. Sadly, from all the lawyers I spoke to, not to cut you off, yeah, you'd think so. They don't think he's got a case where it's not gonna get thrown out. But the real issue is, was there retaliation? That's the biggest issue. There was a point during production where they did sign an agreement. They did it against duress, and they say they only did it to keep the movie going, and they wanted to stop the movie. But in that agreement, there was a no retaliation claim. And so what I've read, and as I've watched the lawyers, even if there wasn't sexual harassment, even if there wasn't harassment, that kind of doesn't matter. So like, she smartly did it in a way where it's like, she may have been harassed, she may not have been harassed, but because she made the complaint the way she did through the California standards, if he's caught doing anything retaliatory after that complaint, just the complaint alone, he's guilty. So that's where this is all crazy and scary.
So they enter into an agreement knowing we can now do whatever we want and he can't retaliate.
Correct.
Oh, that's fucked up, bro.
Yeah, which is more the reason why I'm not Team Blake, because I'm like, you didn't do that because
you're
harassment.
A scumbag.
You did it to trade. And then there's theories that there's a morality clause to the book, so they can get the rights to the book because the author is now cozied up to Blake, where it's like the author was all about Justin, and like Justin has always been about the message of the book. That's where I think also Blake didn't really factor in. This movie's about domestic violence and like relationships, where it's like it's complicated, and there are really fervent fans of that book. And Blake didn't give a shit about that topic.
Right.
Justin has a whole organization, Do Good or something, where, you know, that's what he really seemingly wants to, like, whether it's a facade or not, I don't know, but he's still at least putting in more work than a lot of people is what I'll give him credit for. And he was all about that. That was very clear for him and why he wanted this book. It's to help people and like sort of paint relationships that are messier. Blake doesn't give a shit about that. So the reality, though, is because Blake never really gave a shit about that, it's coming to a light. And I think that's what's making Justin look better. And all these people who've suffered abusive relationships are like, fuck you, Blake. Like, You just want control of this book. You wanted to make it commercial. You wanted to sell your hair care products and your alcohol. Like, fuck you. This movie is not about it. And honestly, that's what sort of turned me, because I'm like, imagine if this Justin Baldoni is this predator abuser who's harassing people on set and being inappropriate to women. Why the fuck didn't you stop the movie and not get it made? You're Blake fucking Lively. Like, you're letting this alleged abuser like reap the rewards of a domestic violence book if he's an abuser. I just find that incredibly hypocritical. And if there's anybody in Hollywood who could have stopped him, they stopped during the strikes. She didn't have to come back. She could have been like, I wasn't comfortable. He made me uncomfortable in the book. In the movie. I didn't want to associate with that. And she could have walked away and been a hero. And then maybe they could have exposed him and it would have been what it was. But she waited not only for it to get released in theaters and then digitally, she waited until it was on Netflix. They made a Netflix deal. And then as soon as it was on Netflix, 2 days before Christmas, she drops her lawsuit. So she cashed in at like 4 points on that movie before she complained about the abuse. And I don't know. I don't know. Doesn't that seem odd? If you're really Blake Lively and you're defending for abusers and you want to expose one, you really are going to wait and cash in at all those points and let him cash in all those points? Feels off to me.
Yeah. She sounds like a scumbag.
That when you talk about it all and put it out there, and I'm trying to look at it all objectively. I've read all the lawsuits. It's like 300 pages of lawsuits I've had to read. I try to give her the benefit of the doubt. And yes, sadly, I agree. I think she has a lot of explaining to do.
So you worked with Honest Trailers?
Yes.
Nice.
I was thinking.
You know what channel that is?
I don't know whose channel that.
I used to watch those videos
Screen
all
Junkies.
the time. Yeah.
I mean, I could talk about that shit. That was a whole cancellation. Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, really? Honest Trailers? And is it the same people that do Cinema Sins?
What is
No.
that?
Okay, Honest Trailers. Honest Trailer. Well, you explain it since you worked with it. Yeah.
No, I'd love to hear you
so
explain
this
it.
is from my. So like, it's like Honest Trailers. It gives you, let's just say, the movie like Wolf of
An
Wall
honest movie trailer.
Yeah, The Wolf of Wall Street. It's just like a satirical breakdown. It's like The Wolf of Wall Street. Like instead of.
You don't know anything. You've never
No,
watched
I've
The Wolf
watched
of
it.
Wall Street. Have you?
Oh yeah,
It's a great fucking movie.
Yeah, but you listen. This guy, everything, 90% of the stuff I talk about. If we ask Colby,
Sell me this pen.
have you ever
Yeah.
seen this? And he's like, no.
Yeah, those are those movies that came out, 2005 and older.
No, but it's
like a break. I haven't watched one in a while, but I used to
good
binge
because
them.
they suck now.
But
so
it
I'm
was
not
like it would just give you like a honest trailer about what the movie's really.
we had the
about.
epic voice.
Yeah,
They'd be
the
like in a
cinematic
world
voice.
where
in a world where Wall Street, whatever. But it's funny. I don't know all the details, but that's one of the channels. That and CinemaSins I thought were very similar. So
they ripped us off. But yes.
So there was a.
I did a show called Movie Fights too. I hosted it was popular for a while.
Okay, so
on that channel.
there was a cancellation. What with that channel?
No, so I was flirting with my fans back in 2017, and my wife didn't know. Hence why I was living a lie back in 2017. So literally the day after Ashley Judd got named or called out Weinstein and Me Too, the day after, some fan came out with a false accusation that I raped her, which I didn't.
Wow.
Which I didn't. But then when that allegation came out, it was so serious, and Me Too was literally just starting. Which now I have so many opinions on all of it now, but I got fucked. I just got fucked because no one wanted to go against it because it was like the wrecking ball was here to take down anybody, and every guy in town had done something stupid, so nobody wanted to be like, Now it's completely different. Everyone sort of, thanks to people like me, I actually pushed through and it was like, this is bullshit. So anyway, I got fired. I got divorced. I lost everything. Moved to Florida. That's why I'm here in Tampa. All that went down. And then I sued them. I won. Well, I won a settlement because the company went under because they were so shady. That fired me wrongfully. I thankfully saved the text messages through Google Voice. I thought I deleted them all, but thank God I didn't. Google Voice kept an archive of them. And with my text messages, I was able to prove that she was completely full of shit. Come back for seconds and all this shit after she alleged I did all this shit. So I exposed her. And then I relaunched. And a lot of people, mostly conservatives, were like, holy fuck, dude, wow. I was able to prove myself, came back, rebuilt. And then the Johnny Depp trial, that was part of the reason I was so popular with the Johnny Depp phase, because I'd been through a similar experience where I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, this woman lied on me. And so I told the story, I wore it like a scarlet letter. Like, yeah, I was a cheater, but that was my sin, not being a rapist, which everyone called me for the longest time. And that sort of lifted up my coverage because people were like, oh, wow, you really do get what Johnny's going through. But yeah, so I don't work for Screen Junkies because of that. They fired me. And then they sold it to a fandom, which has just ripped it in the ground.
Yeah.
Incredibly depressing. But I'm still proud of my era of Honest Trailers.
Yeah, well, that might have been the era that I watched. Like I said, it's been a long time, maybe back when I was back in college. So what do you cover mostly on your channel for people who haven't seen you that are watching this for the first time?
Am I to you or to him?
Talk to Matt.
Yeah.
Just because so you could talk to the microphone.
Yeah, Popcorn Planet was born out of necessity at the time just because I got canceled.
Right.
I needed a place to go. And I hadn't actually proven my innocence yet. I was still in a lawsuit trying to do that from Screen Junkies, which was a very popular channel. But everyone sort of thought I was bad. So Popcorn Planet became this sort of, I called it Popcorn Planet. Like it was sort of like scorched earth of entertainment was what my original angle of the channel was going to be, to sort of just cover entertainment stories and
that
movies.
That would have been a good one too, Scorched Earth.
Scorched Earth.
Entertainment.
And so that was my goal. And I went in and I came back and started making content, and people were still calling me things I wasn't. And then sure enough, as I'm so glad I did that because it got me back into creating stuff, because I took a break because I was pretty depressed during that period of my life. I'd done a lot of wrong things, but I wasn't what everyone was labeling me, which was a rapist and stuff. So I slowly just went back out there. I kept going. My always advice to everybody, like, don't sit in your house all depressed. Like, turn your fucking webcam and make a fucking video. There's no excuses anymore in the world of content. So I just got back out there. The comments were mean, but I kept going. And then finally I was able to prove my innocence. I settled my lawsuit. I can't really discuss that, but the company that fired me went under because they were so shady. And everyone was sort of like, whoa, I didn't know this was the real story. And I used that as sort of the opportunity to like launch my comeback. It didn't do as big as I'd hoped, but it did big enough that I was able to bring Popcorn Planet in. And then it really was the Johnny Depp trial. And then obviously my experience of what happened to me really connected with people, and they could see that why I was connected to the Johnny Depp trial so much, of sort of a man being wrongfully accused. And I didn't shy away from bringing that up from time to time. And that just catapulted our coverage during that phase in Popcorn Planet. I'd say that was the point where we really sort of, it tripled our numbers and stuff. And since then, we've then been really focused on, more entertainment justice, pop culture justice, as we call it. So we've been doing the Diddy trial. We, covered Jay-Z stuff. We covered the Will Smith slap, and Free Britney was a big movement we were on top of. And so, when sort of true crime hits Hollywood, that's what we try to connect into.
And then but it's also, because I read on the thing, I read your description of what the channel is. You also talk about the true crime.
We started with Gabby Patillo. Like, the Gabby Patillo is the one true crime story I really did cover in depth. The Brian Laundrie stuff, which there's a documentary now coming on Netflix. The family did that story because I was local to Florida, and I was just, at that point, we're still trying to find what the channel was. So there was a phase we did true crime. I should probably update it. I stopped covering true crime as much as because I got too depressed. It was too many missing children. I don't know how you and so many women just at night fall asleep to murder stories. I can't do it. It sticks with me too long.
It's like 70, the app. So it's, that true crime is consumed about 65% by women. But violent true crime is what they focus on. So it's like 70-80% of violent true crime.
And they'll watch it right before bed.
Oh, yeah. If you remove if you remove the serial killers and all that stuff from it, then it drops dramatically. Like, they're not interested in scams and bank fraud and stuff like that. They're interested in the serial killer, the murders. And stuff.
They would send me the links. As I was covering true crime, they'd be like, have you followed this murder of the guy who cut his person in the refrigerator? I'm like, ugh. I don't want it just wasn't fulfilling to me at that point. Right. No offense to the people who watch that, of course, but I found my lane. I'm like, I'd rather talk pop culture. So I try to find those juicy pop culture stories just because it helps me sleep better at night. Because I can't, the missing kids was particular. Every week I'd have someone, can you help us find this kid? And I'm like, I felt so helpless.
Yeah. You're
what
like,
do I do?
That's not my area of expertise. So I have a allegation story. You want to hear this?
Oh, I'm so excited.
On me, the Blake Lively thing, where, remember how you were saying some people compare the Blake Lively thing, and they're saying like maybe Baldoni, and maybe there was a thing there, and then Ryan Reynolds, maybe he found out, and it turned into something, suddenly it was like, oh no, that's not what he's harassing me or whatever, right? So maybe there's a theory that that's how it developed. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I heard that, I thought, oh, that seems reasonable. The reason I say that seems reasonable is that I was married but separated from my wife. This is 20 something years ago, right? This is when I owned a mortgage company. I decided I was going to go ahead and become I'll get my real estate license. Well, one of my brokers, his name was John. John's wife was Deanna. She wanted to get her real estate license, and he had told me, "Hey, she's wants to get her real estate license, and you said you want to go. You guys want to sign up together so you can drive her there?" Because he only had one car, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." So we signed up together, and after work, we would go do our class at night, and then you come back. This happened after a week. It's like a 6 or 8 week class, right? And we're doing it like 4 days a week or something at night. So what ends up happening is after a week or two, we start sleeping together. Well, he knows something's up. And eventually what happens is the class ends and I tell her, yeah, we're done. Because now I'm at work and she's calling me. And I've got a secretary who phone calls go through. So your husband is in the bullpen. You know, he's working in the office and you're calling me.
Shit where you eat, my
I
friend.
know. All right. We already discussed the asshole part of it. So asshole.
No, sorry, no judgment. Continue.
Asshole move. I get it. But the point is that she's now calling. And I'm like, listen, this is done. First of all, it was never going anywhere.
That's dangerous.
Yeah, it was never going anywhere.
Did she know that?
Yeah, she always knew that. She always knew. And she's the one who said, look, I don't want to get divorced. Like, this is like, hey, we've got a few weeks together.
That's the frustrating thing where
I'm
they
attracted.
know what's going on, but then once they can't have it, they lose their minds.
Right. So, and I'm getting a divorce already. So she's thinking he's available. And maybe she's thinking it's a step up or something as far as, monetarily or something. I don't know. Husband was a good looking guy, but they've been married for a while. Maybe it was over anyway. And they did get divorced shortly after this. So, but the point is that at some point he realizes something's going on. And I've stopped talking to her. I've been like, don't put her phone don't put her calls through. I'm never here. That's it. She got to a point where she had her best friend calling me, asking me will you just talk to her? She's going nuts. She's unstable. Like I'm all these things are coming out. She's unstable. Like I'm like, oh, no shit. I started to notice that when she wouldn't take the hint, even though we had the conversation, this is only while we're doing this. So what happens is, because I'm like, I don't need any drama. I got enough problems. I got an FBI investigate. Like I got all kinds of stuff. I'm committing massive frauds here. Like I don't need this right now. Anyway, what ends up happening is,
and you added more drama to the mix.
Of course I did. So what ends up happening is one day I get a phone call from one of the no, it wasn't a phone call. One of my mortgage brokers, her name was Susan Barca. Susan Barca comes in my office. She said, listen, John's coming in. He said he doesn't want to. He basically said, you need to leave, not be here. When he comes in, he's cleaning out his desk. And I went, why? What's going on? And he put a device from radio. This is how old this is. From Radio Shack. I don't even think are there still Radio Shacks? Are there?
Yeah, I think there's one. I looked it up. It's more digital now.
Oh, okay.
Like you can order the parts.
So,
but go ahead, sorry.
But it was went to a Radio Shack where you plug this device into the plug. This is back when you had landlines.
I miss Radio Shack. It was a cool era.
Yeah.
By your RCA cords, yeah.
So you plug it into the phone, and then you put your plug in, and every time someone picks up the phone, it records. And he had recorded a bunch of Deanna's
beep.
Don't
use real names.
Fine. Oh, I'm using real names. It's true. This is 20-something years ago. She's a psycho. So anyway, and this is why I'm saying this. She's nuts anyway. But on top of that, listen to what happened. So he records these phone calls between her and her best friend. And so he listens to them. So he takes the thing and he goes, and I found out, this is stuff that I found out that Susan's explaining to me, and basically said that after he listened to the whole thing, she comes home and he says, look, I know what's going on, blah, blah, blah. She denies it. And then he says, I know what's going on. I know. So finally she says, okay, but you don't understand. He essayed me. Mm. And he's like, really? And she's like, yes. And then I didn't want, I was scared. I didn't want you to lose your job. I didn't know. So, and he's like, yeah, but I know you continued to see him. Mm-hmm. And she said, yeah, but you don't understand. She's like, I was scared. I was afraid. First it was like, I was afraid he's going to kill you. I was afraid this. I was afraid, or kill her. I was like, this, that. I was scared. And so I continued. And then I ended it as soon as it was, obviously it stopped happening. I was so glad when I was done and we got our license and the whole thing. Okay, fine. So he goes, and she says, you don't understand. He forced me. And she goes, I'm telling you right now, she goes, I'll go to the police right now. He essayed me. I will go right now. We will go file a police report. I will file it. We'll have him arrested. And keep in mind, I'm sitting there, the broker's telling me this, and I'm thinking, holy yeah. Like, I never thought it would go like this. I knew she was a little nuts, but she's now ready to file false accusations. And so what happened, of course, is that he's got the recording. So then he starts playing the recording. And one of the recordings is it's between her and her best friend. And I'm sitting there telling Susan, by the way, like, none of that's true. That's not true. She had a whole thing where I slid my all the stuff off my desk and threw her on the desk and the whole thing. And Susan's like, well, I mean, I know that's not true. She's like, you're not that passionate. And he played, so he ended up playing one of the voice or the
memos, yeah,
the recordings for his wife, and he told Susan, and it was she was her friend was saying, look, you have to stop. The guy's not interested. It's over. Find someone else to focus on. And she said, you don't understand. After having sex with him, I can never have sex with anybody else.
This is the only reason he wanted to tell the story.
Exactly. And I told Susan, I said, that part's true. I'm all about productivity, feeling energized, and staying strong, no matter how old I get. But let's face it, aging can slow you down. That's why I started taking Qualia Senolytic. As we get older, our bodies pick up these things called senescent cells, or zombie cells, that can make you feel stiff, tired, and achy. These cells take up space and suck nutrients from the healthy cells we need. But that's where Qualia Senolytic can help. Qualia Senolytics help remove those dead cells so the healthy ones can thrive. It's like hitting the reset button on your body. Qualia Senolytics is vegan, non-GMO, gluten-free, and the ingredients are all about working together to support your health. The best part is you only have to take it 2 days a month, and they have a 100-day money-back guarantee. So if you want to feel younger and boost your energy, go to qualialife.com/true and get up to 50% off. Use code TRUE for an extra 15% off your order. Try it risk-free with a 100-day money-back guarantee. Trust me, your future self will thank you, and thank you to Qualia for sponsoring today's episode. That other stuff is not true, but that's true.
I was waiting for the payoff.
Luckily, John said he was reasonable. He was like, "You're not calling the police. You're not doing that, and we're done. Find someplace else to live." And they actually got a divorce. But so it's like,
and you were the best she ever had. Did that make you feel a little bit better?
That's the only part of her story that was true. So, but
the TikTok will end at that punchline.
Yeah,
like it'll build up to that point, and then that'll end.
And listen, the comments will go nuts, and it will get 4 million views. And I just be, if Colby is willing to sacrifice like my pride for views, he will make me look horrible. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that like I could see like some, like, hey, I found out this, I found out. Luckily, he had these tapes and he knew none of that was true.
I totally relate to that. Yeah.
What if you get the guys who are like, yeah, if he was a spiteful person, which he wasn't, thank God. Other than he was saying he was gonna kill me if he saw me. Which is funny because a month or two later, we both went to a birthday party dinner and we were there and we talked and we shook hands. We were like, hey, and he's like, yeah, she was crazy, bro. The whole thing.
Yeah, it's the evidence is key. If you don't have the receipts, I was the same way. Like this accuser back when I worked at Screen Junkies, she came and we had an affair. That's what it was.
Yeah.
It was a clear affair. And she was a fan. That's the other thing. Hooking up with fans is so dangerous. So dangerous because most of them, if they want to be with someone famous, YouTubey, whatever, they are a little unhinged.
Yeah. And
they'll get obsessed or not understand what it is. And it's like they can't just be mature adults. Like, look, I'm not here to judge. A lot of people are unfaithful. I'm not saying it's right. You shouldn't do it. But people do it.
But I mean,
mature adults, whatever grown adults want to do in their private life, none of my fucking business, right? But that's the problem is like sometimes you get swooped into one of those relationships where you think, oh, cool, we're adults, we know what we're doing. And then you find out, oh no, they're not adults. They're crazy, immature, insecure, crazy people. So yeah, anybody YouTubers watching, don't hook up with your fans. It is a recipe for disaster.
You can imagine what my plight. I mean, look at me. I have fans. Look at me. If you looked like me, my God, it would be twice as bad. Luckily, you've got this. You've got this.
I got some fans.
You have this going on.
Shaming me, brings you on the show to just tell you how big his dick is.
Good times.
But anyway, back to
people are delusional.
Back to the point. Back to the point of you get those receipts, and if you are having an affair with somebody, save your fucking receipts. Like keep the evidence because they can turn on a dime. Like I keep all my receipts with a lot of not that I'm doing that now. I'm just saying you got to keep that shit. If you ever suspect, oh, this is weird. There was a point where I was hiding my affair and I deleted some things. Bad news because again, she's like
not gone.
He showed up to a party. On my hotel room unannounced and tried to me. Meanwhile, the texts are me, sorry, for YouTube standards. Meanwhile, the texts are like, oh my God, please come back for round 2. When are you going to come back? That was so good, blah, blah, blah. Like, hello, that's not what you said. And then it's like a text showing me, here's my room number, come on by. You said I showed up unannounced. Like everything she said was discredited in the text messages.
What's funny is like, so that, like, how is that not a charge?
Do
you see what I'm saying? How is that not
1,000%? We're now in a world where and I see it happen with the Diddy case. To be fair, like there was a lot of people jumped in the Diddy case in the circus, as I call it.
By the way, I like that.
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good at this. I got a big dick and I can segue real good too. I just don't call it out like you. 17-year-old Rihanna. And then you learn about Aaliyah and you learn about how young Beyonce was. And then you look at his alleged son. Jay-Z's got a history with these girls. Do you believe Jay-Z is really this nefarious Diddy-like player?
I probably shouldn't say this.
Actually, that's too much for one video, right, Matt?
And I'm supposed to say what? Tomorrow, stay tuned, and we're going to be releasing the Jay-Z video. Subscribe. Okay, that's fine. See ya.